Hello, I'm Mike, and this is Will. We are the Tabletop Donkeys.
Hello.
And we're bringing you issue 60 of Warhammer Age of Sigmar Mortals magazine today. And in this issue, we got a set of 5 Bladegheist Revenants for the Nighthaunt. And as always, if you want to see them in action, you can look in the chapter bars or the description for a time code so you can see the battle for this issue. And also down there, you'll find an overview of the collection so far and what we've got over the last 20 issues. And you'll find a time code for that in the description of the chapter bar as well. But having a look at the issue, first up, we have some backstory on the Bladegheist Revenants. So, these souls have suffered a very particularly cruel fate at the hand of Nagash. The people who became Bladegheist died in particularly cruel ways, like being crushed to death, or drowning, or being buried alive. And in Undeath, they are forced to relive their dying moments, and as such, they just flail helplessly, trying to escape their predicament. Unfortunately, they happen to be holding very large swords while they're flailing around, and tend to chop people up fairly effectively. And they see chain ghasts and spirit torments as the people who put them to death, and so flail even more vigorously in an attempt to flee them. We also a bit here about the suffocating grave tides, which are basically sort of tidal waves of death magic that sort of roll around the realm of death and consume entire towns if they get big enough. There is some backstory on Aventus Firestrike. So this is a Lord Arcanum for the Hammers of Sigmar. He rules over Hammerhall, which we've learned about before, the twin city. On the part of it's on the realm of fire, and the other's on the realm of life. He was a powerful mage in his former pre-Stormcast days who fought against the forces of Khorne. A little bit here about his Taural on Mount Loithar, and he is apparently gifted at forming close bonds with others, so obviously an ideal leader. Now, there's some more history of the Spiral Crux. This is after the forces of Tzeentch have effectively conquered the realm. The Storm Hosts have arrived and are allying themselves with the Caradhran Overlords and the local tribes to retake the realm. And he talks about how they Duardin and the parts of the Storm Hosts took to the skies to fight against the forces of Tzeentch. There the build guide for the Bladegheist Revenants. So you do get a choice of heads, so each head can be on any of the bodies you want. You do need to be fairly careful because they have these chains and hooks, and their blades are quite spindly as well. And you can see the completed ones here. And then we have for the painting guide, and this is pretty much exactly the same for all the other Nighthaunt you've done so far. And you can see some completed ones here, so they look pretty good at this point. And with that over, we'll have a quick look at the collection thus far, and after that we'll get into our game. And here we're having a look at the complete collection up to this point. So this is from issues 1 to 60. Over on the left we have the Stormcast. On the right we have the Nighthaunt. So we've got 65 Stormcast models and 81 Nighthaunt models. And there's all the terrain there at the back and the accessories in the middle. Doesn't include all the paints and brushes or the Citadel skulls. And none of the premium stuff or subscriber gifts. So we don't have those. Let's have a quick closer look at the Stormcast. So in the front we have all the heroes we have to this point. Going from the left we have the Knight Questor, 2 Knights in Cantor, one on the right is Zandra Agibolt, the Lord Ordinator, the Lord Exorcist, the Lord Relictor, the Knight Azeros, and our 2 Lord Arcanums, one on Dracoline and one on Griffcharger. Then going behind them we have Averon Stormsire with his 2 Cursebreakers, next to the unit of normal Evocators, and the 3 Retributors, and then the Fast Riders. And behind them we've got 2 units of 5 Liberators, and there's 2 units of Castigators, so one of them is the easy to build set with the Gryph-hound, and the other one is the 5 you get with Soul Walls. And then we have the 8 Secretors from Soul Walls, here in 2 groups of 4, and then we have the easy to build Secretors, and then 3 Gryph-hounds. And then right at the back we have the 2 Celestial Ballistas, so again one's from Soul Wars and one is easy to build. 2 Evocators on Celestial Dracolines, which we got in the previous issue but you haven't seen until this point. And then finally the 3 Prosecutors. That's the whole of the Stormcast collection. And then going over the Nighthaunt, again we have the heroes at the front. Starting from the left there's Reikenor the Grimhailer, the Knight of Shrouds on Ethereal Steed, the pair of Dreadblade Harrows, our 2 Lords Executioner, so the one on the right is Lycoron, and the other is the one from Soul Wars. 2 Spirit Torments, the one from Soul Wars, and Korolok the Jailer. You have the Knight of Shrouds on foot, the Guardian of Souls, the Cairn Wraith, and the Tomb Banshee. And behind them we have the Thorns of the Briar Queen, and the Briar Queen herself, 4 Mammal Banshees, the 2 Chain Ghasts that came with Korolok the Jailer, and then the 5 Bladegheist Revenants we got with this issue. And then the next rank is the 4 Grimghast Reapers. We have the 2 sets of 5 Harridans, 9 Glaive-Wraith Stalkers, so it's 4 easy to build and 5 from Soul Wars, 2 units of 10 Chain Rasps, and at the back we have the 3 Spirit Hosts and the 5 Hex Wraiths. And all the terrain we've had up to this far, so we've got some Azurite ruins starting at the left, a Sigmar statue, an Azurite bell tower, all of the cemetery terrain from the first 20 issues, and then the Fallen Sigmar statue and the Time-worn ruins on the right. And you can see they're spread over the 3 boards we've been using up to this point, and there's the little tomb mat in the middle with all the dice and the range order we've got. And if you'd like to know what has been new since the last 20 issues, for the Stormcast we have the 3 Retributors, the 2 Liberator Primes, the Prosecutor Prime, the Lord Relictor, one of the Ballistas, the generic Knight Incantor, the Castigator Prime, that leaves a squad of 5, and the 2 Secretor Primes that aren't the easy to build one, the 2 Evocators that go with the regular Evocator Prime, the 3 Fast Riders, the Lord Ordinator, the Lord Arcanum on Dracoline, and the Evocators on Dracolines. And for the Nighthaunt, you have Lycoron the Executioner, Rykonor the Grim Healer, one of the units of 10 Chain Rasps, the Knight of Shrouds on foot, the 5 Hex Wraiths, and the Bladegeists. So that's all we've had in the last 20 issues since we did our last overview. Well, with all of that over, we can get into the build-up for our game for this issue.
So now we can get on to our game for this issue, but first we've got the Warscroll for our new Bladegheist Revenants. They've got a fairly standard Nighthaunt profile. They've got 1 wound and 8-inch move, a 4+ save that can't be modified, and bravery 10. But where it gets interesting is their weapons and abilities. They have a Tomb Great Blade, which has 2 attacks which hit on 3s and wound on 3s with a Ren -1 and 1 damage. Because of their Fearful Frenzy, you can reroll failed hit rolls for them if they're wholly within 12 inches of any friendly Spirit Torment or Chain Ghasts. And their Whirling Death allows them to retreat and charge in the same turn, and if they charge, then they get +1 attack with their Tomb Great Blades. And as usual on the back there's just a sort of quick overview of those abilities just to demonstrate how they work. And here we have the background for what was the climax of the battle for the Sigurd in the Realm of Metal. So the Nighthaunt have managed to acquire large stashes of Chamonite Realmstone, and now they're trying to take them through the Runegate, which is the Realmgate leading to the Realm of Fire, for whatever nefarious purpose they're up to. But the Stormcast Eternals have assembled a force to intercept them and try and head them off. And again we have our sort of strategic overview, and have a look at the map first. On this occasion you can see all of the arrows pointing towards the Runegate, so all the forces from both sides are converging on that location as the Nighthaunt try to escape with their cargo and the Stormcast are trying to stop them. And then over here we just have a bit more detail on both sides. So the Stormcast Eternals now have a diverse array of hardened troops, having fought extensively here, whereas the Nighthaunt have a vast horde of undead that they've gathered to try and break out of the Realm of Metal. And there are 2 lists here of troops and heroes, which we'll be using to decide our forces from, but I'll come back to these in a second once we've had a look at the battle plan. So here is our battle plan, the Gates of Fire. So as before, the Stormcast Eternals are trying to stop the Nighthaunt getting through the Realmgate. So here's our battlefield. We've got the 3 battle mats set up as usual, and then the 2 territories, which are sort of wedge shape on both sides. These extend up to 6 inches on in the very centre of the long edges, and then taper down to the corners. I think the picture here gives you a false impression of how big 6 inches is. It's not actually going to be that far onto the table. There's not going to be that much space in the deployment zones. So obviously this battle takes place in the Realm of Metal, so we can use those Realm of Battle rules. We set up the Time-worn Ruin, Fallen Sigmar statue, and the Sigurite Mausoleum terrain pieces, and then also setting up units starting with a Stormcast player. The game lasts for 5 battle rounds, and the one with the most victory points wins, and victory points are awarded 1 victory point for destroying an enemy unit, but if a hero slays an enemy hero, then that side scores an additional 2 victory points for doing so. So it's a very simple game, but the interesting part for this game is that we get to pick our own armies entirely, using some of the guidance we saw in the previous issues. So for the armies, both sides have 2 choices from their respective heroes list and 6 choices from their troops list, but it does note that anything with a star next to it takes up 2 choices, so these are usually quite powerful units that you have to sacrifice an additional slot effectively to take them. So having a look at the Stormcast forces list, I won't list all of these things, but you can see what the Stormcast have to pick from there, and you also note that the Lord Arcanums on Dracoline or Griff Charger and the Evocators and Celestial Dracolines, those are the things that count as 2 choices if you pick those instead of 1. And here's the Nighthaunt hero and troops list as well. In this case, only Rykonor the Grimhaler counts as 2 choices for the Nighthaunt. Everything else counts as 1 choice. So that's it for our battle plan and the army lists, but now what we'll do is actually show you the armies that we have put together from these lists, and then after that we'll get into the game. So here we've got the army that I have picked for the Stormcast Eternals. So at the front we've got my 2 hero choices. We've got the Lord Ordinator, here with my general, and the Knight Incantor. And then my 6 troop choices. Although the 2 Evocators and Celestial Dracolines, who we got last issue but didn't see, they count as 2 choices, so it's actually only 5 units here. In addition to them, we've got 5 Liberators, 5 Sequitors, with 3 of the big maces, 4 Castigators, which that was the number you got as a choice for Castigators in that list, and a Celestar Ballista. And as it did in the previous issue, because I have the requirements for a Warscroll battalion, in this case the Hailstrike battery, I will take that. So that's the Lord Ordinator, the Castigators, and the Ballista. And this is the Nighthaunt army that Mike has selected.
So for my 2 heroes, I have the Guardian of Souls and a Spirit Torment. Probably make the Guardian of Souls my general. For my troops choices, I've got them for 6, so we've got a unit of 10 Chain Rasps, a pair of Chain Ghasts, the 5 Bladegheist Revenants we've got in this issue, the 5 Hex Race, a single unit of 3 Spirit Hosts. You can take them as 3 units of 1 if you want to take the Warscroll battalion with Lord Executioner, and then a unit of 5 Harridans to finish off the army.
Yeah, so that's both our armies, so now we will deploy them and set up the board and start the game. So we set up our battlefield as you can see here and deployed our armies. We'll have a look at the terrain first though. So on the left hand end of the board we've got the Sigmarite Mausoleum up there, and then down here the Fallen Sigmar statue. We rolled for that on the terrain table and got result 6, which is the one that gives you -1 bravery for being within an inch of it. And then over on the right hand side of the middle we've got the Chamon ruins. And having a look at the Stormcast deployment first, you can see here the sort of wedge-shaped territory with the model at the sort of point of it there, and then how quickly it tapers off. There's not really that much space to deploy. But we've got the 2 Evocators and Celestial Dracolines on the left flank, then the unit of Sequitors in the front line, the unit of Liberators on the other side, and then in here, behind the Liberators, there's the Castigators, the Knight Incantor right in the centre there, the Lord Ordinator towards the left in the second row, and at the back, the Celestar Ballista. And then going over the Nighthaunt deployment.
Yeah, so starting from the left, I have the 5 Harridans, then the Spirit Hosts, we've got the Spirit Torment behind them, and then there's the Chain Rasps with the Guardian of Souls behind them, and the Guardian of Souls is my general. We've got the Bladegheist Revenants with the Chain Ghasts behind them, and then the Hex Race over on the right.
So all we have to do is roll off to see who gets priority in the first turn. So I've rolled a 2.
And I rolled a 3. So I'm actually going to make the Stormcast go first. Something's going to get shot out by the Ballista, but I don't think I'd really achieve anything on my first turn.
So we've got to Stormcast turn 1. So in my hero phase I gain a command point. I actually got to 2 because I start with 1 because I have a Warscroll battalion. Then we've got some spells to do. We'll start with the Evocators on Dracolines. They're going to try and cast Empower. So they need a 6. They get an 11.
Yeah, so I'm not going to bother trying to unbind an 11 since I need to roll a 12, and the Knight Incantor is still to come anyway.
We'll put that on the Ballista because it is a Sacrosanct keyword unit, so I can put it on them. So that lets it reroll its wounds. And then the Knight Incantor is going to try and cast Metamorphic Warding, which is the Realm of Battle spell. She needs to cut a 7. She only rolls a 4, so we don't get that off. And in the movement phase, we've just done a kind of slow advance and made the battle line a bit straighter. So we've got the Sequitors and the Liberators up front, the Castigators behind, although they won't be in range of anything this turn. And the Ballista moved up its 3 inches. And Lord Ordinator ran, he only rolled a 1, but he's actually coming around to the other side of the Ballista, just because I think he might be more needed on that flank. And the Evocators and Dracolines have just come around the other side of this statue, like that. So then on to the shooting phase. The Ballista is in range for a single shot, which is going to shoot at the Spirit Hosts. So this hits on a 2, thanks to the Lord Ordinator. It does, and it does D6 hits, which is 2. These wound on 3s, but re-rolling because of Empower. So we can re-roll that 2. Into a wound, that's 2 wounds.
2 4+ saves. Ooh, made both.
So that's the end of Stormcast turn 1, because there's nothing else to do, so on to Nighthaunt turn 1.
So my hero phase, I gain a command point, and then the Guardian of Souls might as well try and cast Mystic Shield on something. Needing a 6, he got a 6.
I am in range to try and unbind, so the Knight Incantor may as well have a go. Oh yes, with an 8.
In my movement phase, there's going to be a whole lot of moving out, hoping for the double turn, but we want to maintain a bit of distance just to make the Stormcast charge a little bit more difficult. So the Harridans have moved up normally. The Spirit Hosts ran because they're a little bit slower, but just enough to keep them down with the Harridans, and the Spirit Torment came up behind them. Everything else up here ran. Chain Rasps and the Bladegheist moved up to form the front line with the Chain Ghasts and the Guardian of Souls behind them. And over on the right hand side of the board, Hex Race also ran, and they're going to flank around the Time Wandering. But that's going to be it.
So that'll be the end of the Nighthaunt turn. On to the second battle round. Rolling off, I rolled a 6.
I rolled a 3 again.
And I think we definitely need to go first, or we're going to have Nighthaunt all over my battle line. So on to Stormcast Eternals turn 2. So I gain a command point and then some spells. We'll do the Knight Incantor trying to cast, and the Knight Incantor will try and cast Spirit Storm. She needs a 7. Gets 3. That's a failed cast. Well, the Evoctors only know Empower, so we're just going to try that anyway. Getting a 6. No, getting another 3. And then everybody's going to move up, apart from the Ballista, because I think we need to charge the Nighthaunt rather than be charged. So yeah, frontline has moved up like that, with the Knight Incantor supporting. The Castigators and the Lord Ordinator have moved slightly out towards the right flank to try and head off those Hex Wraiths. And the Evoctors and Dracolines have ridden straight up to the Nighthaunt line, more than 3 inches away, and hopefully they won't be the only unit that succeeds on their charge. But before that we have the shooting phase, and I think we really need to deal with those Hex Wraiths, so the Castigators are going to shoot at them first. So we have 3 shots. We'll use Power to Accuracy to reroll 1s to hit. Prime hits on a 2, the others on 3s, and the 6s do D3 hits. We've got a 6 and a miss, so 2 hits plus a D3. Oh, only extra 1, so 3 hits total. These wound on 3s. Oh, they do, on 3.
4 plus saves, Hex Race failed 2, so one of them is dead. Take away that one off the back.
And I actually made a mistake and didn't move the Ballista towards them, so it's not within 18 inches for 4 shots, so I can't actually benefit from the Hailstrike battery, which is a shame. And so, shooting something that is within 18 inches, it's going to shoot with the Spirit Host instead. So we've got 4 shots hitting on 4s, thanks to the Lord Ordinator. I could have done with those rerolls, that's only 1 hit. So 1 hit, which is D6. Well, 6 at least. Wounding on 3s. Oh, 6 wounds. Okay, well.
6, 4 plus saves. What? Only failed 2. So I'll put it on this one.
So that Spirit Host is down to 1 wound. So that brings us on to charge phase. We'll start with the Evoctors on Dracolines, because they only need 3. And they roll 9. So they'll attack the Harridans on the end of their line. I can't not bring the Spirit Hosts within 3 inches, but I can limit the number of Spirit Hosts that can actually attack them. And then we will try and do a charge with the Liberators. I think they probably need about a 7. Definitely not a 5, so I will spend a command point to re-roll that, bringing me down to 2. And a 6, so I'll have to check. Unfortunately, they're just over 6.5 inches away, so they don't quite make it. So now we'll declare a charge with the Secretors, I suppose. They will definitely need at least a 7. They got a 4. I'll have to spend another command point, taking me down to 1. 5. They fail their charge as well. So that means the only thing to do in the fight phase is these 2 Evoctors on Dracolines, and there's no need for them to pile in, and they're going to put all their attacks on the Dreadside Harridans. Then we'll do the attacks with the Evoctors' weapons themselves first. They have 9 attacks, because one of them is a prime, which hit on 3s. We've got 8 hits, and these wound on 3s. Only 4.
4 plus saves. Made them all. Blimey.
So then Dracolines are going to have to do the job. They've got 6 attacks between the 2 of them, hitting on 3s. Got 3. And wounding on 3s. We've got 2.
4 plus saves. Made both. Blimey.
But then we have their Celestial Lightning Arc, so I can pick a unit within 3 inches. I'll pick the Harridans, because although there's a damaged Spirit Host, the Harridans are currently getting all their attacks back at me. So roll 2 dice for each model in my unit, and on 4 pluses, they take mortal wounds. 1 mortal wound.
So I'm going to take away this Harridan here, just so it's easier to keep them all wholly within 12 inches of the Guardian of Souls.
But then that's all my fighting, so then they do get to attack, or then I can get to pick a unit, technically.
So the Harridans will go first, and they'll plan it like that. It's just making sure they're all entirely within 12. So I've got 13 attacks from the Harridans, hitting on 4s, rerolling 1s because the Spirit Torment is nearby. Roll those 2 1s. And they both miss, so it's only 6 hits. And these wound on 2s, and 6 hits are 2 damage because we're still using the old Harridan's profile. Well, they all wound, and there's 3 6s, and they're -1 rend.
So that means we have a 5+ save for Evoctors. I'll do the 6s first. Made one of them, so that's 4 damage so far because of the double damage. And then the extra attacks needing 5s again. Made one of those. So that's actually 6 damage in total going through, which is enough to kill a whole Evocator, because they have 5 wounds each. So that will kill the normal Evocator and leave the Prime on 4 wounds remaining.
Yeah, the Spirit Hosts could pile in, but not enough to get any of them within an inch, so I'm not going to bother piling them in.
Yeah, but that's going to be it for my turn. Not nearly as effective as I hoped it might be, so we'll be on to Nighthaunt turn 2.
So I will gain a command point to go up to 2, and then the Guardian of Souls is going to try and cast Spectral Lure. He needs a 6. He gets it with a 7.
Try and unbind that with the Knight Incantor, needing an 8. Nope, 7.
So he's going to cast it on the Hex Race, who are just wholly within 24. So I need to roll anything but a 1. If I roll a 1, I don't heal enough wounds to bring 1 back. Why? That would have brought back 3 Hex Wraiths. So that 1 Hex Wraith that died is going to be revived in front of his compatriots. So I'll start the movement phase off over here. The Harridans are going to stay engaged. The Spirit Hosts are going to fall back because they were just about engaged. And the Guardian of Souls and the Spirit Torment are going to stick around with them. The Bladegheist and the Chainrasps will sort of swap sides, so the Bladegheist can go after the Secretors and the Chainrasps after the Liberators. And the Chainghasts are moving up behind the Chainrasps so that they project the Spirit Torment's aura. The Hex Race over on the flank have moved up, so they're basically 3 inches away from the Castigators now. So in the shooting phase, the Chainghasts are going to shoot at the Secretors. 2d3 shots each. D3 shots, sorry, 2d3 in total for 3 shots. Hitting on 4s, you're on 1s. Oh, nothing at all. Then we're on to the charge phase. I'll do the Bladegheist Revenants first. They're going to charge. 5 is enough. They'll finish their charge like that, staying 3 inches away from the Knight Incantor. The Chainrasps will charge as well. They get a 6, and that's definitely enough. And the Chainrasps will charge into the Liberators. And finally the Hex Race are going to charge as well. And finally the Hex Race will charge. And they get an 8, so that's definitely enough. And the Hex Race finish their charge, and they're all going to charge that one Castigator on the end so that they don't bring the Lord Order later into.
Well, so then we're on to the combat phase, at the start of which the Secretors will declare power to shields, but then the Nighthaunt get to pick a unit first.
Yeah, I'm going to pick the Bladegheist Revenants, because I don't want them to get smushed by the Secretors. I'm going to spend a command point to use Living Blades on them.
That gives a +1 to hit, that's the Realm of Battle spell.
Yep. So these Bladegeists have 15 attacks, because they get an extra 1 for charging. Well, they hit on 2s, because +1 from Living Blades. Rerolling everything, because they're within 12 inches of a Spirit Torment. Wounding on 2s, because they're within 12 inches of a Guardian of Souls. So reroll those ones, so that's 15 hits, and wounding on 2s, getting 12 wounds.
These are Ren -1, so I have 5+ saves, rerolling 1s, 2s and 3s, thanks to the weird way that modifiers and rerolls interact. So I made 4 saves so far, I can't reroll those 4s, so that's 3 wounds going through, and the rerolls will get me nothing else, so that's actually 8 wounds, so I've only got 1 Sequitor left. So that leaves just the poor Sequitor Prime left. I'm going to do my Evocator Prime on Dracoline next, because those 4 Paradins could definitely kill him. So he has 5 attacks with his weapons, hitting on 3s. They all hit. And wounding on 3s. 3 ones, so only 2 wounds.
4+ saves. Made 1, failed 1.
1 wound so far, and then 3 attacks from his Dracoline. Hit on 3s, so we've got 2. And wound on 3s. 1.
4+. Made that.
Well, then he's got his Celestial Lightning Arc, which he will use on them, because they're within 3 inches. 2 attempts to get a wound on 4+, we've got 1 more, so that's...
2 Harridans dead.
Yeah.
So I'll take away those 2 Harridans. So I'm going to do the Chainrasps next. I'm going to spend my other command point to use Living Blades on them as well. So we have 21 attacks from the Chainrasps, hitting on 3s, because they get +1 from Living Blades. Rerolling 1s, because they're wholly within 12 of the Chainghasts, who are wholly within 12 of the Spirit Torment, and wounding on 3s, because they are wholly within 12 of the Guardian of Souls. 7 2s, and I'll reroll those 1s. So that's going to be 12 hits, wounding on 3s, getting 9 wounds.
So 9 4+ saves, rerolling 1s. 2 1s to reroll. Failed 3, so that's a Liberator and a half. So we'll take away this Liberator and put a wound on 1 on the other end. So I'll do the Castigators next, because that's the only unit now at risk of a Nighthaunt unit that hasn't struck yet. They'll pile in like this, so they're all in range to strike at a Hex Wraith. They have 8 attacks, hitting on 4s, 2 hits, and wounding on 4s, getting nothing.
I'll do the Hex Wraith next. Attacking the Castigators, they have 11 attacks, because the leader gets an extra 1. Hitting on 4s with their scythes.
6 is 2 mortal wounds.
2 6s means there's 2 mortal wounds, and then there was 5 regular hits that wound on 3s, getting 4, and they're -1 rend.
So 5+ saves, Castigators. Made 2, so that is 4 damage so far.
And then we've got the horses, 10 attacks from the hooves and teeth, hitting on 4s, only getting 3, and wounding on 5s, getting 1.
4+ save. Oh, failed that, so 5 damage total. So we'll have to lose those 2 Castigators there and then put a wound on that one, because we don't want the Prime to end up being out of cohesion. I will pick the Liberators to go next, I think. They're not going to pile in, they're just going to put all their attacks on the Chainrasps. We've got 9 attacks between them, hitting on 4s, getting 5 hits, and wounding on 3s, getting 3 wounds.
5+ saves for Chainrasps. Oh, made 2, only 1 dies. And we'll take away this one. And my only unit left to fight are the 2 remaining Harridans, so they'll attack the Evocator and Dracoline. So you've got 7 attacks from the 2 Harridans, hitting on 4s, rerolling 1s. Roll the 2 1s. Getting 4 hits. Wounding on 2s because the Guardian of Souls is there. And 6s are 2 damage. 4 wounds.
4 5+ saves. Made 2 of them. That's good. So he's down to 2 wounds. Then I've just got the Sequitur Prime and the Knight Encounter left. Oh, I'll do the Knight Encounter, I suppose. She'll pile in like that, and that actually brings her within range of the Bladegheist Revenants, so I'm going to hit them. She has 3 attacks, hitting on 3s, getting 2. And wounding on 3s, getting 2.
4+ saves. Made 1, failed 1.
D3 damage for 2.
So that's 2 dead Bladegeists. I'll take away these 2 on this end.
And then the Sequitur Prime gets to attack them as well. 3 attacks hitting on 3s. 1. Wounds on a 3. It did.
4+ save. Made it.
But that's the end of the fighting, so now we're on to the Battle Shock phase.
Yeah, and at the start of the Battle Shock phase, the Spirit Torment is going to bring back D3 Harridans, because I killed way more than 3 Stormcast this turn. So D3 Harridans, for only 1, better than nothing. Just going to put her there.
And then also in the Battle Shock phase, I'm going to use the Lord Ordinator's command ability, which means that no units within, I think, 24 inches of him need to take Battle Shock tests, which is good because I have 2 units that need to take them, the Castigators and the Sequitur Prime. Correction, it's actually only 18-inch range, but both of his units are easily within 18, so neither of them have to take a Battle Shock test. But that is it for Nighthaunt turn 2, and the end of the battle round. So we're on to battle round 3, and rolling off. 5 for me.
I got 3 again, I'm consistent.
So I think we'll definitely have to go first, so on to Stormcast turn 3. So back to 1 command point, and we'll try and do Spirit Storm with the Knight Encounter. We're needing a 7, we're getting a 9.
Going to try and unbind that. Needing a 10, only getting a 6.
So that's a mortal wound to every Nighthaunt within 18 of that.
Yeah, it's going to be everything,
I think it's probably everything. Yep, that was everything, so we've got all the 1 wound units have lost another model, and then there's wounds scattered around everything else, and that Spirit Host that was wounded is also dead. And everybody is going to stay where they are, because they're either in melee, and I want them to stay there, because I think that's the best option, because I need them to be there to do damage, basically. The Lord Ordinator is already just over 3 inches away from the Hex Race, and the Ballista has retreated a little bit away from the fighting. And then we're on to the shooting phase, where the Castigators are going to shoot the Hex Wraiths. Prime hits on 2, other one on 3s, rerolling 1s, 6s do extra hits, so the Prime got a 6, which is D3. Oh, just 1, so 2 hits. Wounding on 3s, 1 wound.
4+ save. Failed.
And that's important because when the Ballista shoots at it, we now get the Hailstrike Battery benefit, which obviously it's going to do. So 4 shots hitting on 4s because of the Lord Ordinator, re-rolling because of the Hailstrike Battery. So, well, we've got basically the same thing we did last time, but this time we can re-roll. Well, I need 1 extra hit. That is 2d6 hits, therefore. 2. Okay. So these 2 hits wound on 3s. Will they do, at least? 4+
saves. Fail both, it's on the Hex Wraith.
That kills that Hex Wraith there. But then we're on to the charge phase, and the Lord Ordinator is going to declare a charge. So only got a 2. Yeah, he's in. Actually made a mistake. The Hex Wraith is actually alive on 1 wound because Lord Ordinator wasn't wholly within 9 of the Ballista when I shot with it, because I moved it away, which was foolish of me. So I rerolled the hit into a 4, so it only hit once, which did 1 hit, which then only hit. Then we're on to the fight phase. At the start of it, I'm going to pick power to weapons with the Sequitur Prime, who is going to strike first. So 3 attacks hitting on 3s, re-rolling misses. Oh, they all hit anyway. And wounding on 3s, getting 2 wounds.
4+ saves. Oh.
Failed 1. So 2 damage, therefore.
Yeah, and both of the Bladegheist die.
And that's actually a victory point for the Stormcast for destroying a unit.
Yeah.
First victory point of the game, although I don't know if it shows the real state of things, but anyway.
I'll do the 2 Harridans, see if they can finish off that Evocator. 7 attacks, hitting on 4s, rerolling 1s. Reroll that 1. 4 hits. Wounding on 2s, 6s are 2 damage. 1 2 damage and 2 normal wounds.
Well, I'll do the 2 damage because if I fail it kills him on a 5. Yeah, he's dead. 2 damage, he's only got 2 wounds left. So yes, that kills the Evocator Prime, and that's a victory point for the Nighthaunt. I think I would do the Lord Ordinator next against the Hex Wraiths. So he has 6 attacks hitting on 4s, but if he rolls 2 or more 6s, then the unit takes D3 mortal wounds after everything's been resolved. So 6 attacks, well, we got our 2 6s and 3 hits total. Wound on 3s, 2 wounds.
4+ saves. Fail both.
So 2 damage plus a D3 mortal wounds. Oh, 2, so actually 4 damage. 2 Hex Wraiths. So that kills off the wounded Hex Wraith and another one, and then puts the other normal one on 1 wound left.
I'll pick the Chain Rasp to go next. 17 attacks from the Chain Rasp. Going to put all of these on the Liberators. Hitting on 4s, rerolling 1s. Reroll the 2 1s. Getting 7 hits in total. Wounding on 3s. Getting 3 wounds in total. Good job, Chain Rasp.
So 4+ saves for rolling 1s. Oh, I made them all. So I'll do the Liberators next, I suppose. They have 9 attacks, hitting on 4s, getting 5, and winning on 3s, getting 3.
5 plus saves. Yeah, made 1. 2 dead chain rasps. Finally, the Hex Wraiths get to go. They've got 5 attacks with their scythes, hitting on 4s, 6s do mortal wounds. No 6s, so 3 ordinary hits. Wounding on 3s, getting 1.
With -1 rend, so 5 plus save, yeah, because he doesn't have such a good save. Oh, he's made it.
And then 4 attacks from horses, hitting on 4s, getting a single hit. Wounds on a 5, it does.
4 plus save. No, you make that as well. Now I've got the Knight in Cantor to go. She needs to pile in slightly. Yeah, she'll just pile in there to get within her 2-inch weapon range. And she's going to attack the Chain Rasps. 3 attacks, hitting on 3s, getting 2 hits. Wounding on 3s as well, 1.
5 plus save, failed.
D3 damage, 1. And then my Castigators are actually within 3 inches of that Chain Rasp there. They can't pile in to fight though because there's a Liberation in the way. But I'm going to pile them in a little bit anyway, just because I can. And they'll pile in 3 inches in this direction, from right to left. They do technically get closer to the Chain Rasps, but obviously, as I said, they can't engage them, so they'll stick there. But that's it for combat phase. No battle shock tests necessary. Only lost 4 Chain Rasps this turn. So that's the end of Stormcast turn 3, on to Nighthaunt turn 3.
Guardian of Souls is going to try and cast Arcane Bolt. Also only a 5. Getting an 8.
Try and unbind that normally, I suppose. Not going to use my Void Storm Scroll. Needing a 9. Nope, getting an 8.
I'll kill off that wounded Castigator.
Yep, doing Mortal Wound.
So my movement phase, everyone's basically just going to move up a little bit. The Chain Guards are going to shoot at the Secretary Prime in the shooting phase. 2d3 shots for 4, hitting on 4s, rerolling 1s. 3 hits. Wounding on 2s. 3 wounds, -2 rend.
So needing 6s to save. Nope, that's a dead Secretary Prime and another victory point for the Nighthaunt.
And the charge phase, the Spirit Hosts will charge. Yeah, they get a 7. That's
actually a 6 because of Spirit Storm, but yeah.
But that's definitely enough to get them somewhere. So they'll finish their charge like that, and then the Spirit Torment will charge. Or an 11 for a 10, but so he's going to finish his charge like that.
So on to the combat phase. I'm not going to blow up any Spirit Flasks.
Yeah, and I'm going to pick the Spirit Torment to go first and see if he can get me some extra victory points. He has 3 attacks, hitting on 4s, rerolling 1s because of himself. Getting a single hit, so can't kill her. Wounds on a 2. Wounded.
Oh, it's 2 rend, so needing a 5. Nope.
D3 damage. 2.
So she's down to 3 wounds. I will fight with her next, because otherwise she's going to might get mortal wounded to death by the Spirit Hosts. And she will attack the Spirit Torment, just because I could get bonus victory points. 3 attacks hitting on 3s, getting 2. And winning on 3s, getting 2.
4 plus saves. Made both. I'll do the Spirit Hosts next, and they'll attack the 9 Cantor. 12 attacks, hitting on 5s, rerolling 1s, and 6s do mortal wounds. Well, there's 4 6s in there.
4 mortal wounds, so she's dead. So she dies, and that's another victory point for the Nighthaunt, but not a bonus one because she wasn't killed by an enemy hero.
Yeah.
I'll do the Lord Ordinator next, because if he can finish off these Hex Wraiths. 6 attacks hitting on 4s, need 2 or more 6s. We're going to 1 6, and 3 hits total. Wounding on 3s. Getting 3 wounds.
4 plus saves. Failed 1, so there's just the Hellwraith left. And I've got the Chain Rasps left, so they'll go next. They have 11 attacks, hitting on 4s, rerolling 1s. Reroll that 1. Into a miss, that's 5 hits. Wounding on 3s. Getting 2.
4 plus saves, rerolling 1s. Reroll the 1. Into a failure. So there is a wound which kills off 1 Liberator. So that kills off the wounded Liberator. And then they will attack. They are all within an inch of a Chain Rasp, and I'm going to put all my attacks on them because that would be a unit killed if I managed to do that. 7 attacks hitting on 4s. 4. Wounding on 3s. And 3 wounds.
5 plus saves. Failed them all.
They're leaving 2 Chain Rasps alive.
Finally, the remaining Hex Wraith can attack the Lord Ordinator. So the Hellwraith will pile in around the Lord Ordinator. So he's now within 12 inches of the Chain Ghasts, so he can reroll 1s to hit. And he will attack the Lord Ordinator. 3 attacks, hitting on 4s, rerolling 1s. 6s do mortal wounds. There's just 1 hit. Wounds on a 3. It does.
A 5 plus save, which I failed, so he takes a wound. He's down to 4 so far.
And then the horse, 4s, hit rerolling 1s. Gets a hit. 5s, 5s. Oh, wounded from the horse as well.
And he failed his 4 plus save, so he takes 2 wounds, down to 3. I've got the Castigator Prime, and he can pile in and attack those Chain Rasps. She has 2 attacks, which hit on 4s. One of them does, and wounds on a 4. Oh, it did.
5+, made it.
So, on to the Battleshock phase. No Battleshock test necessary, but the Nighthaunt did kill 3 Stormcast.
Yeah, and I'm going to bring back D3 Chain Rasps. D3 Chain Rasps, only 1.
But that's it for Nighthaunt turn 3 and the end of the battle round. So, we're on to battle round 4, and we're rolling off. I rolled a 4.
Can I roll something other than a 3? I can roll a 6, and I will go first.
So, on to Nighthaunt turn 4.
So in the hero phase, I'll gain a command point, and then the Guardian Souls will try and cast Spectral Lure. Needing a 6, getting it with a 7.
I have nothing left to unbind it with.
He's going to cast it on the Harridans, bringing back D6 of them. 1. Whoop. So, my movement phase, the Harridans have moved up to get closer into the action. The Guardian Souls has moved across to make him more central. And the Hellwraith has actually fallen back and run, and he's falling back over the Castigator Prime.
So potentially you can do a mortal wound.
So on a 5+, the Castigator Prime takes a mortal wound. No. Then in the shooting phase, the Chain Gas will try and shoot the Castigator Prime. 2d3 shots, 3. Hitting on 4s, rerolling 1s. Reroll that 1. They got a hit. Wounds on a 2. It does not. The Harridans will charge. Getting a 7. So the only charge is going to be the Harridans.
Yep, so then we're on to the fight phase.
I'll pick the Harridans to go. So they're going to pile in. The Slasher Crone can pile in around that Liberator to get her within range of the Castigator Prime. And the one to her right will attack the Castigator Prime while the other one has to fight the Liberators. And I will spend a command point to use Living Blades on them as well, giving them an extra +1 to hit. So we have 7 attacks on the Castigator Prime. Hitting on 3s, rerolling 1s. Reroll those 1s. 5 hits in total. Wounding on 2s. 6s are 2 damage, but there's no 6s.
So 5+ saves. No, failed sort. She's dead. Another victory point for the Nighthaunt.
Yep. And then we have 3 attacks on the Liberators. Hitting on 3s, rerolling 1s. Getting 2 hits. Wounding on 2, 6s are 2 damage. Well, there's a wound and a 6.
Alright, let's do the 6 first on 5, rerolling 1s. Reroll the 1. Nope, so that's 2 damage. And the other one failed as well, so 3 damage. We will kill off this one, because I think that will make the Spirit Torment unengaged. And then put a wound on the other one on that end. And then they get to go, and they will go for the Chain Rasps, because they do have enough attacks to kill them. 5 attacks, hitting on 4s. Well, they all hit.
Well, they're mad.
And wounding on 3s. Oh, only 2.
5+ saves. Oh, I made one as well. 1 dead Chain Rasp. And I will pick the Spirit Host to go next. And the Spirit Host will pile in. 12 attacks, hitting on 5s, rerolling 1s, 6s are mortal wounds. Now there's 2 6s in there. Reroll the 1, into a miss. That's 5 ordinary hits. That wound on 3s.
Yep.
Getting 3 wounds.
4+ saves, rerolling 1s. Reroll 1.
Oh.
I went to a failure, so that is 3 wounds total with the multiple wounds condition, so that's actually enough to kill them. And that's the end of the fight phase, because I don't have anything else engaged. So on to the Battleshock phase.
Yeah, and I'm going to bring back D3 Harridans. Bringing back 3. But I've only got 2 left to bring back.
So that is the end of the turn. And at this point I'm going to concede the game because the Nighthaunt are in the lead 5 victory points to 1. And although they do have quite a few units that I could kill off with the Lord Ordinator and the Ballista, the Lord Ordinator is not going to kill those heroes. So therefore I could get another 2 or 3 victory points, which isn't going to be enough to beat the Nighthaunt. So I think we'll definitely call that a Nighthaunt victory. And we'll recap that game for you now. So that was the game for issue 60 of Warhammer Age of Sigmar Mortal Realms. How do you think that went?
I think it went badly for you as opposed to going well for me.
Yeah, I probably agree with that.
I think your turn 2 is probably the big decider at that point. After that, you were completely on the back foot. If I'd gotten the double turn at turn 3, the game probably would have been over fairly quickly. And you did manage to claw it back a bit, but I still think you were reacting at that point rather than trying to dictate how the game went.
Yeah, basically my Vocators charged in and did absolutely nothing. I think I failed both my spells that turn. The Ballista didn't really do anything, and I failed all my charges, and so the Vocators were unsupported, and then in your turn you were just able to charge me. So yeah, and I think I did make a couple of mistakes, particularly with the positioning of my Ballista and the Lord Ordinator, but I don't think it would have mattered because it would have ended up with a Hexwraith being on 1 wound less, but it was still alive, and I would have killed an extra Hexwraith or 2, but then you brought them all back with Spectral Lure anyway.
Yeah, the Vocators particularly had a very bad case of New Model Syndrome. And also the Bladegheist did really well, I think. Normally when I try and charge Secretors that have power to shields, usually just bounce off or maybe kill one of them. I killed 4 of them.
Yeah, I think they did roll pretty well, but then they were buffed up with all sorts of... You spent a command point and they were in range of both of your auras,
Yeah. To be fair, I probably didn't need to spend a command point for Living Blades because they reroll everything if they're within range of a Spirit Torment or the Chain Gas, but still.
On the note of auras, actually, it was because you were able to pick your army, you actually brought things that complemented each other, like the Chain Gas and Spirit Torment, and then obviously the Bladegheist benefit from there as well. And then the Guardian of Souls, that +1 to wound aura has always been deadly, but it's when you can combine it with other things, it becomes even better.
It is tempting to just take the Spirit Torment and the Guardian of Souls all the time. The Guardian of Souls, the Spirit Torment, and the Knights of Shroud and Raikkonaut are going to be your number one on the queue for heroes. The Lord Executioner and the Tomb Banshee and the Canwraith just don't really compare. So I will try and take a variety of armies, not just take a really good army, I think.
And because of the models you have with the Nighthaunt collection and the number of choices you have, that you pretty much got the same choice every single game. We will get some more Nighthaunt units with upcoming magazines, but on those lists that we saw earlier, pretty much all your stuff is on it.
Whereas the Stormcast, the tables they give you seem to be limited to about 10 choices each for heroes and units, so the Stormcast have more choice of units, so it does tend to change quite a lot.
And some of the choices on my table were a little bit peculiar. Well,
yeah, I don't know why 2 prosecutors is a choice. I think that might be a typo.
Yeah, 2 prosecutors seems to make no sense at all. Because they've made certain things cost 2 choices rather than 1, it shows they're trying to add a little bit of very simple balancing, I suppose. But I don't think an extra prosecutor would unbalance it. I think definitely 2 prosecutors are not worth as much as even like 5 liberators, to be honest. 3 prosecutors probably would be. I think that would be a much more even. Yeah, we can only take the things that are on the list, and some of the options on the list are clearly inferior.
And 4 castigators at least makes sense because you've 8 and 2 primes.
It's not quite 5, which would be my favoured number, but 4 did a little bit better in this game than 3 usually.
Well, if you only had 3, they would have been dead a turn earlier.
Yeah. So. Also, for me, being able to take the Hailstrike Battery essentially for free, if I just take the correct units, is quite a powerful ability. Whereas, unfortunately, the Warscroll Battalion you have is not really a substitute.
That would have been a huge liability in this game because, one, the Lord Execution is not very good, but having 3 single units of Spirit Hoses, that would make them worth 3 victory points rather than just 1.
And actually, on a related note, my reason for bringing the Evocators on Dracolines was because they were new and we didn't see them in the last issue when we got them, but it actually meant that there was 1 fewer victory point on offer for you. Not that that mattered in the end.
Yeah, and if you take the Lord Arcanum, that's 1 fewer victory point as well.
Yeah, it's probably worth saying I didn't take the Lord Arcanum, basically just because we've seen both Lord Arcanums a lot recently, and I thought it'd be nice to take 2 different heroes that we don't see quite so often.
Yeah, talk more generally about Bladegheist. They're basically Glaive Wraiths, but better in every way. They move faster, they hit on 3s, they get more out of Chain Gas and Spirit Torments, which you're probably going to take anyway, certainly a Spirit Torment at least. And they have Rend, and they have the same gimmick of being able to fall back and charge as Glaive Wraiths do. And they get an extra attack if they do it as well. So, except, I think technically you can take Glaive Wraiths in units of 4. So if you want a very cheap unit to just stand on an objective, then Glaive Wraiths possibly the way to go there. And you use Bladegheist for actually killing things. I guess they fill a similar sort of niche as Harridans. They have a similar damage output, I suppose. With this way of choosing armies, where they're a single choice, they're certainly one of the better ones. Plus, you actually get 10 of Bladegheist with the magazine, which is actually a proper unit of them.
I don't know how much the whole box set is, but this magazine will give you 5 for probably less than half the price of the box set, which has 10 in it, so...
£27 or something like that for the box of 10. Probably definitely an issue worth getting multiple copies of.
Unfortunately, the Evocators didn't have a great outing, and we discussed them in the previous episode, but this is the first time we've seen them on the battlefield, and there's not really much more to say other than they're just Evocators on Dracolines, so they have a higher melee damage output and more wounds, but they didn't really show that in this game.
Yeah, I mean, they probably should have killed the Harridans. I mean, the mounts do D3 damage as well when they charge, so it should be devastating against 1 wound models. Well, I guess we could also talk about the collection up to this point. I will say that these last games, I think it's been much more interesting across the 3 boards than the Realm of Life, which was the exact same layout for 20 issues in a row. It did get a little bit repetitive with the terrain. I do kind of feel like we could use the Azurite Ruins or the Bell Tower as well. It still feels a little bit bare.
Even if they just varied the terrain a bit, I think we've had the same terrain pieces for at least the last 5 issues as well.
And even some of the armies as well, actually, I think, like having Raikkonaut and Lord Arcanum all the time as well.
Yeah, especially considering we have some heroes that we never see.
A lot more objective-based games, ones where the objectives are actually fairly spread apart as well. I think that actually does play into the Nighthaunt strengths, though.
Yeah, having more board space means the Nighthaunt actually gets something out of their speed, which is kind of handy. Although with the Evocators and Dracolines, the Stormcaster got a bit more speed now as well.
And the Dreadblade's ability to disincorporate, or whatever it's called.
Although it was a bit peculiar that we had the single Realm of Metal board with all the printed terrain on it, and we never actually used any of the Time-Worn Ruins on there, even though they were printed on there, where the positions where you could put them. We only ever saw the Fallen Sigmar head on the middle of that board, and then after that we never had any more games on that single board by itself, so we didn't get to use them.
Yeah, I suppose it's also worth noting that there should be a set of 4 boards, because it looks a little bit janky where the board doesn't line up properly. But I will say I don't particularly like the fact that the Realm of Metal spell is useless for the Nighthaunt and good for the Stormcast.
Yeah, they could have picked a different realm for this that the Nighthaunt can benefit from it, so it feels like a little bit of a lack of thought.
Maybe the Stormcast needed it, so...
And speaking about what we've received for the collection over the last 20 issues, I think the Stormcast probably got the better deal for the most part.
You filled out a load of units and got a load of like the Retributors and stuff like that.
Yeah, there were 2 sprues towards the beginning of this block of 20 where we got several unit leaders and some heroes and another ballista, and it was about 11 or 12 models in the space of a couple of issues, I think. And then also getting another Lord Arcanum, the Lord Ordinator is obviously really good. The Evocators on Dracolines. Or the Fast Striders as well, they're not so exciting. But that compares to the Nighthaunt, who did get 10 more Chain Rasps, and the Hex Wraiths, and the Bladegheist, which are all quite good, and Reikenor, and the Night Shrouds on foot. So it's not too bad.
Yeah, I mean, there's stuff like Lycra on the Executioner who's a bit meh.
He's a bit pointless because we've already got a Lord Executioner.
Who I already don't take, so...
I mean, to be fair to them, the Nighthaunt range is smaller, and they've given you basically everything in it, so they kind of have to give you those duplicate characters, otherwise there'll be less stuff overall. But
there's only one thing in the entire Nighthaunt range you don't get with the magazine, so...
And I will say as well about the story over the past 20 issues, to be honest, a lot of it has been there is Chamonite Realmstone and people are trying to get it. Or the Nighthaunt have got some and the Stormcast are trying to stop them. And there have been those maps that have mentioned a few locations, but...
I do kind of like the strategic overview maps to tell what's going on, because I think since we're using the same maps all the time, it does feel like you're fighting in the same place, especially when the terrain's similar. Yeah, and they've introduced characters, but they don't really... Like, we had Lord Ordinator Sturmfell, who just kind of was around for a little bit, and then presumably is there, and presumably Zandra Azurbolt was still around, and Lord Arcanum Glory Mantle, but there's something been mentioned. It's been individuals.
And the Nighthaunt have basically, apart from Reikenor and the Briar Queen, who seems to have vanished, the Nighthaunt basically have no characters at all. There's quite a lot of those little fiction pieces at the beginning of the game where it's talking about a Knight of Shrouds called something or other, but then you never hear about that particular Knight of Shrouds again. I suppose the Nighthaunt are, in that sense, a little bit characterless as a faction, because they're all just nameless ghosts, but they could have at least named, say, a Knight of Shrouds and then kept him around.
Yeah, I do like at least Reikenor can act like a sort of figurehead for the Nighthaunt collection.
And it's nice that we've seen him a lot. Just don't feel like it compares that well to Conquest magazine, which came before. I think they did. I feel like they made more effort with the story and gave you characters that actually you kind of cared about a bit. Characters who had their own motivations and little sort of subplots. Whereas for a large extent in this, they've just been sort of people running around a lot.
Yeah, Conquest did have a little campaign maps on occasion, so maybe they could have done something similar to that.
Anyway, I think that's it for this video and for this issue and for these 20 issues that have just gone. So if you liked this video, then please leave a like and subscribe. Let us know your thoughts on the game, on the battle, choice of units, and indeed on the collection so far. We'd be interested to hear your thoughts. But we've been the Tabletop Donkeys, and we will see you in the next one.
Bye for now.